Hello and good day to everyone watching. My name is Jeremy Lee and I'm from the University of Indonesia. And in this opportunity, I would like to share my thesis paper titling Debt Restructuring Forecast of PT.X during the COVID-19 pandemic using the Monte Carlo simulation. As we know, the coronavirus disease, or often referred as COVID-19, is a new type of virus that was first identified in Wuhan, China on December 31st, 2019. This virus is related to the SARS or the Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome virus family and several other types of influenza. Due to its high transmission rate, on January 30, 2020, the Director General of WHO declared COVID-19 as a public health emergency of international concern. Hundreds of countries issued various kinds of rules and regulations to control the transmission of COVID-19 and including in Indonesia, where on 14th February 2020, the first case of COVID was identified in Indonesia, and on the 10th of April, the Indonesian government declared large-scale social restrictions as well as the 5M health program instructions to the Indonesian people, namely the mandatory wearing masks rule, maintaining physical distance, washing hands regularly, avoiding crowds, and reducing mobility. With the strict rules and regulations for controlling this phenomenon, Indonesia's economic sector has experienced a very drastic decline. People's mobility is hampered and, as a result, the wheels of economy in Indonesia have stalled. Total losses are unavoidable and the impact of COVID in Indonesia alone were the loss of jobs for more than 1.5 million workers. The price shares of Indonesian shares declined with a significance of value of 0.00 less than zero, and the decline in import for Indonesia as much as 3.7% in the first quarter of 2020, and the increase of inflation rate as much as 2.96%. This chain of events relates closely to the phenomenon stated by Nassim Nicholas Taleb on 2007 as the Black Swan phenomenon, where an unexpected series of major events caused a devastating impact throughout the world. The Minister of Finance of the Republic of Indonesia, Sri Mulyani, said that the COVID-19 crisis is far more complicated than the 1997 and 1998 crisis due to the root cause that could not be contained. Various kinds of Indonesian industries have been adversely affected by COVID-19, and more specifically for the mining construction sector. PT.X is a private company and mining contractor business line, which also suffered losses when COVID-19 entered Indonesia. Job layoffs have been carried out for hundreds of workers to reduce the losses due to large-scale social restrictions imposed by the government, resulting in a complete operational layoff. The crisis experienced by PT.X can be seen in an income statement, where in 2019 and 2018 the sales reached around 35 and 34 billion rupiah, whereas in 2020 the sales is only 16.3 billion. And due to the decrease of production from 120,000 tons per month reduced to only 30,000 tons per month, and the cost for the employee salaries, which is from 11.1 billion in 2020, it's only 6.1 billion. This shows a very significant employee efficiency by PT.X so that the salary costs can be cut in half. Then the usage cost in 2020 only cost 10% compared to the 2019 and 9% compared to 2018. This proves that the operations for PT.X was stopped due to the large-scale social restrictions carried out by the government. However, the determination of a company's financial distress is inadequate to prove only from the income statement alone. That is why this paper used ALTMAN Z-score to determine the distress rate of a company. Developed by Edward I. Altman in 1968, this method is a formula of the 5 basic financial ratios in order to determine the financial health of a company. And looking at the results of the Z value above, in 2018 PT.X is in the distress zone, and in 2019 PT.X managed to improve its performance and increased uh, its category to the safe zone area. However, in 2020 it dropped drastically to the distress zone again, which indicates the severity of the situation. Then, how can PT.X recover from this situation? And this is where restructuring comes. Uh, Restructuring is a reorganization of a company with a view of achieving greater efficiency and profit, or to adapt to a changing market. And what it does, it improves and maximizes a company performance, uh, and a company which has difficulties with making the payments on its debt. Often restructuring is used to consolidate and adjust the terms of the debt in a debt restructuring, and it's an alternative way out when faced with a financial distress. There are a lot of restructuring methods which could be done by a company. However, debt restructuring is most often used by companies when faced with a financial distress. There are 9 commonly used debt restructuring methods by companies. Nevertheless, PT.X used only several of them, which are the debt-to-equity swap, the asset liquidation, and rescheduling alternatives. First, the debt-to-equity swap alternative, which can be done by PT.X. The fact that the main creditors, one of the main creditors from PT.X debt is a sister company, which in 2019, back in 2019, PT.X has also done this restructuring method with the sister company. Therefore, this possibility of the implementing this method again becomes higher. Secondly, the asset liquidation, and after consulting with the PT.X, the management had planned to carry out this restructuring process due to the unproductive equipment would be sold. The sale of these unproductive assets will have an impact on the company's cash, which ultimately be used to cover the debt. And the third option, which is the rescheduling, where this strategy is a debt restructuring process which was carried out by PT United Tractors back during the 1997 Asian crisis. And judging from the similarity of the line of business, it will be favorable for PT.X to follow the steps of the company and uses it as a benchmark in making decisions. Then, to determine which alternative is the best, PT.X uses Monte Carlo simulation. Monte Carlo simulation is a simulation method that relies on the repetition of random sampling and statistical analysis to calculate the results. In general, this simulation is a method that uses random numbers to perform calculations, and where the simulation uses data from the past and predicts the movement of risk factors that refer to a predetermined probability distribution. And in this case, the probability distribution will be determined from the cash flow volatility of the company. The cash flow volatility is a method to measure the spread of returns from a security or market index. However, for a specific company, the measurement of cash flow volatility can be calculated by measuring the standard deviation of operating cash flow divided by the average sales in a period of time. First, we obtain the calculation of cash flow volatility for PT.X, and it yields the value of 0.78, where this value will become the triangular distribution used for the simulation later on. And prior to the simulation, there are several assumptions that has to be made. The first one is the discount rate is calculating the NPV is set at 9%, and this value is obtained by calculating the weighted average capital cost of PT.X. And secondly, the value of 0.78 of the cash flow volatility is set as the upper and lower limits in the cash flow projections for the following year. And thirdly, not conducting any financing or investment activities by PT.X for the next 5 years. And lastly, the year 2020 is set as year 0 in the NPV calculation, or set as the initial year. Then we can obtain the first simulation result with the NPV, which can be seen in the table. Then this NPV value is simulated again for 1000 times, which yields the following results. The NPV represented by the mean, and we can see that the DTE yields the highest NPV looking from the mean, followed by rescheduling and asset liquidation. Well, for the best option, PT.X is advised to take the debt to equity swap alternative due to its provision of the largest NPV, and the creditor for the debt to be swapped is lent by a sister company. Hence, this will not interfere with the composition of ownership of PT.X very significantly. Nevertheless, PT.X can also take the rescheduling alternative due to its minor difference in the NPV result, and the rescheduling alternative, since there will be no additional interest from the bank due to the regulations provided during the COVID-19 pandemic. This option will not change the composition of PT.X and the financial structure of PT.X significantly, and rescheduling may be considered as a safe haven for PT.X in maintaining the company's financial health. Therefore, if PT.X sees from the high NPV profit, it is recommended to take the debt to equity swap alternative. However, if PT.X opted for the minimum long-term risk option, it is recommended to take the rescheduling alternative. But in the end, the decision will be made by the management of PT.X, as they know the company inside out as well as its capability. That is all from me. Thank you and have a nice day.